patch panel, okay, the panel that goes there. So it actually goes like this, okay? It goes like this, it goes down in there. We've rib nutted everything, so you will have these rib nuts sticking out, but I don't know, that's not bad to me. I'm thinking about actually, when I go to paint this, I'm thinking about actually taping these up so they stay gold, just because the car has, you know, so much black and gold on it, like a lot of, you know, the carbon vinyl, and the engine's a copper color. So I think it'd be cool to have the, you know, the gold rib nuts showing on a gloss black panel. And I might carbon paint this. No, actually I probably won't carbon paint this side. I'll probably just do this straight gloss black, but we're working on this. So I rib nutted it, put it in place. I did like a couple to get started with, and what I did was I held it up there on the outside, and I took my drill and I drilled through from the outside in on two of them, one on this side and one on that side. And then I took me a screw, because I opened up, I did an 1/8 inch drill bit, and then I opened this up to do the rib nut and then put it in. And then I took, you know, where the 1/8 inch drill bit went through there, and I opened enough to clear a bolt. And then I put this screw in backwards, okay? So I put it in like this, okay? Ran that through to where it was sticking out the other side, okay? So what that does is that creates it where it's sticking out the other side, basically like this, okay? Then you can come on the outside, stick it back on. You know, the bolts go through the firewall, and so that aligns it, and that just barely holds it in place so you can go inside the car. Now, if you have somebody that can hold it on the outside while you go inside and run screws in it, then cool, you know, that's perfect. And I went ahead and did a couple more rib nuts across the top, and all the ones that were easy to get to from the outside. So I had it hanging there, and it actually bit kind of tight, because from where the holes, it kind of bit tight. So I went in there and then finger, you know, tightened, just turned some screws in loosely, and then cranked them down with the Phillips to suck that in. And then I took an 1/8 inch drill bit and ran from along the bottom where the motor's in the way, ran from the inside out and just barely touched the metal, because you can't really push too much pressure on it or aluminum starts to bend since it's not bolted in place. Just barely scarred the metal, went all the way through the steel firewall, and then took it back out. And then on the bench where my marks were scarred across the bottom, you know, it's behind the motor, that's where I went and drilled it all the way through, put the rib nuts in, you know, and we're good to go. And then I'll just go in there where the 1/8 inch drill bit went through, and I'll open it up big enough to clear these screws. So what we did is, while we had it in the car, okay, so we had it bolted in there and we were doing the bottom holes, is I went ahead and took a level and made me a reference line. So this is my reference line. So if you look at the panel, you're like, dude, that's crooked as crap, okay? But your panel is not straight. Your panel is not, you know, level. This line across the top is not leveled. You know, the panel could be like this, or it could be like this. However you know, your delete panel in your vehicle is. But once it's bolted in, I took just a simple level and put it on there, you know, and just leveled it so that the bubble hole, you know, showed that it was level. Everybody knows how to use level. And then I marked that. So that's going to be my reference line. So what this is going to allow is for me to work on the bench now and lay out any electronics, any map sensors, anything that I want to put on this panel. I now have a reference line off of, which is level. That way, when you put it back inside the car and you're, you know, in here up under the dash, before I used to have a fuse block in there it was very hard for me to do all this by myself, and I ended up having it crooked. So it was sitting in there, you know, cocked like that. When you looked under the dash, it just looked like crap. So this time I said, well, we're going to mark a reference line. That way we can measure up, you know, if we need, you know, a line of bolts 3 inches up, and we'll keep it level. We don't have to work in the car. We can do everything right here on the bench. So I've also traced out my border of clearances. Basically, I got to stay inside these lines roughly, and I need to grind this out at the shop to clear where we're going to put our ground through down here in the corner. If you remember in the other video, we talked about how our ground wire is probably going to go inside the car out to the back of the cylinder head. So we're going to work on this now. I'm going to get a couple pieces laid out that I have. We're going to weld aluminum 90 to here straight across wherever we do that, and then that way there's no more rib nuts on the outside, and the center of this on the back side is all smooth. So we'll weld some aluminum 90 across here, and then we will rib nut the 90 and bolt our carbon to our 90 so that there's no rib nuts staying on the outside. I'll have Mike weld this up to tomorrow, which is Monday. So I'm going to get this laid out. I'm going to go ahead and figure out how big of a piece of carbon I want, and then measure for the length of aluminum. And I'm going to go ahead and probably go to full distance with the aluminum 90s, so I can have a big piece of carbon. And then we got to do stuff like our map sensor and possibly our trans brake relay. We might put up here, we might put it in the center console, I don't know. But we're just gonna make sure we have any room that we could possibly need up here, so that anything we want to add, we've got room for it. So I'm gonna work on that. All right, so not gonna bore anybody, gonna dive right in. We ordered some more parts today, so we're gonna go over everything. I got in this 3-wire shielded wire from Holley for all your add-ons, you know, your extra pieces and stuff. We also got in the 90s for the Dash 20. So we went over it in the water pump video. We went ahead and bought a 90 that will come out of here. And I'm thinking right now I'll shoot it around into a loop. Basically, you know, 90 out of there, shoot it around into a loop back up in here some way. So I don't know. It's hard to bend that line. These are literally like fittings are on top of each other. It'd been so nice if that fitting was like down there and it just had a little more run, but somehow we're gonna have to get the angle right where we basically make a loop. So it might need to loop back down, honestly. It might need to come out and then loop around and back down, because that sharp 180 is not gonna work. It's gonna definitely need to be a loop to get back in here. And I thought about going that way with it, but I think it's gonna get it too close over there. So once the Dash 20 stuff gets in, we will figure that line out. Top line's gonna be easy. I ordered 2 45s from it. So 45 to go there and a 45 to go there into where the water pocket goes. We got in these Earls fittings. So these are your 1/8 NPT thread 90s. This is what we needed for up top. So I went with these that are square because they just look better to me. I don't know. The normal 90 bend just kind of looked like a little piece of pipe. I don't know. It just didn't look as appealing. I considered both of them, but there's what they are. There's the part number if you need it or you're interested in one. All it is a 90-degree 1/8 NPT to a 1/8 NPT. So we're going to use it for right here. So that was going to hit the bottom. I know I have to put Teflon tape on it, so I'm just going to mock it up real fast for y'all. Basically, we'll turn it down all the way, put Teflon tape on it, and that's just going to kick the sensor back like that. So pretty basic, pretty easy, and that's going to allow us to plug right in with our plug. Fuel, there's fuel right there. So our fuel will, bingo, just basically plug in just like that, and you know, we'll lay it where it kicks down there. But that's that. So we got in 2 of them because the other thing I needed the 90 on was, remember we were talking about this right here to put a pressure sensor hopefully up inside here. So that way you know your coolant pressure. These are the pieces Mike tacked on. If this works, all I have him do is just put tacks on for me. If this works, well, I'll be cutting this across the bottom right here. So this is what I was talking about on the shock stuff, and of course I put the freaking fender on. But they'll bolt in like that. That way your travel limiter can fit off of that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to basically flip them 180 and go up in there like that, so that they're actually mounting under this tube. Let's see if I can show you on this side, in case you didn't understand in the other video. So we'll go up inside there and we'll get some kind of spacer or something probably, so that it's like that. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm gonna work on just mocking that up tonight, just loose hanging them and seeing where the bottom falls. Took that back to his shop, but didn't accomplish nothing with that. It needs to be drilled and tapped. And then we got in the bongs for the charge pipe for our ambient air temperature sensor, or I don't know if it's called ambient air. It's the air temperature sensor. It reads your air temps. There you go. That's perfect. So Mike said one thing he did point out immediately was he said that we have to cut this, that this is definitely going to need to be cut off, some of it off, so it's not hanging down inside the tube and creating a issue. But I'm guessing what we'll probably do is we'll drill the hole, and then since it's going to have a slight arch, I'll then trace it on the outside, and then we'll trim it back to that, and then let him weld that in. So we're going to get that in hopefully maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Mike's got a lot going on, so check him out over at Blanton Dynamics. He's not uploading a ton of videos right now, but he will be. So we got some Zeus Springs in. These things annoy me on the measurements. I know you can adjust them, but there was 2 different ones. So I just went ahead and ordered both. I was like, screw it. I've already made this mistake with these stupid springs once, and I didn't want to deal with it again. So I figured it'd be best to have some in stock laying around anyway of the 2 different sizes. And why not, you know? So we're going to use these, and we're going to build up the aluminum tabs that these Zeus's on the wings will lock into, and we'll build the tabs off of here. I guess we're going to have to powder coat that crap. Man, I'm not looking forward to powder coat. But now that I just said that, I started thinking. See, when I start talking to y'all, I literally figure stuff out. We will powder coat our travel limiters and our Zeus tabs at the same time. So we don't want to paint either one of them items because we don't want them chipping. So that's what we'll do. Well, and I should have powder coat coming in the mail sometime soon. Besides that, that's it for this order. Just a little 3AN brake line fitting. So that's that for that. Our panel, here's our panel layout, okay? Mike got this tacked today, so now you can kind of see the 90s that I was talking about. He just put some tacks on them, and I went ahead and worked out here for a few minutes this afternoon when I got home and put the nutserts in them, drilled the holes for my panel, then that way they can bolt in. And I did order all Allen bolts, so y'all would be happy. I went and ordered black ones, I think, for... Let's see here, what did I order black ones for? I think I ordered black ones for the whole car. So everywhere we have P-clamped anything, I've pretty much used the same nutcert. And I ordered Allen head, like black screws for everywhere, just P-clamp. So we can get rid of all these flatheads, all these Phillips, everything that I've put in here. For the most part, we can get rid of all that stuff. And then for inside the car, I ordered also Allen head ones for all of the perimeter of our patch panel. So to go around all the perimeter, will have actually Allen heads in it and not Phillips or flatheads or some crap like that. And then these will have, you know, Allen heads in them and not crap like, you know, junk flatheads or whatever. It just don't look good. But that's what I'm thinking with this. So I was gonna hit John up, but he's really busy. He sometimes takes a minute to message back. He's got a ton going on, so I try to keep it to a bare minimum of what I bug him with. I really don't like bugging people, but sometimes I just want to make sure I'm doing stuff right. But y'all help me out amazing with a lot of stuff. So we have to use these, I know, for my inputs and outputs. I still don't understand. I haven't spoke with him 100% what goes in here and what doesn't go in here. And so I was trying to figure out where they needed to go in the car, because I didn't know if I wanted to put them where the Dominator was, which is right here under the passenger seat, since it'll be plugged into the Dominator basically. You know, your Dominator's right there, so it'll be plugged in the input and output harness. So I was going to build like another platform across here, even though it's like no room, or something to the side. And then that's when I decided, man, it's just not room right there. I mean, I could build something up there if I wanted to. Maybe I should do that. I'm still just trying to sort all this stuff out, what I want to do with everything. Maybe I should put it over there, because the plugs are going to be right there. So if we're cutting any wires, it'll be amazing to do it right there. The shifter's right there for trans brake, probably all gets tied in right there. So maybe I will just build a carbon panel for the side over here and put them over there. Now, again, I just thought about that talking to y'all. But before, I was going to, you know, plug it in here and then run the wires all the way up there to where the board's going to be and do all the connections up there. But that's just, it's kind of scattering stuff everywhere. I don't really like that. Now that I'm thinking out loud, I think I will. I'll leave this board here, because this is amazing for mounting whatever we might need. And I will use this for different odds and ends if we need to add stuff later. But maybe I'll do all 3 of these on a carbon board that goes by side to seat in there. So I have to look how much room I got. This has to be mounted here no matter what, because this is our map sensors. Our map sensor, remember in the other video, it comes in, we'll plug it in right here with vacuum and everything, and that will be that. But maybe I'll just keep this board basically like blank. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything, so it's not like we added extra weight. All we did was add another access point. If you need to add electronics or do something with it, it's there, it's done. You know, you can add whatever to it. So yeah, now that I'm thinking about that, maybe I'll do that. Anyway, I'm going to sort some stuff out tonight. Look, Harper left her bunny ears out here. She got them for Easter. The back half of the car is still tore out. I ordered some other pretty big, exciting things today. Spent more money. We're about to have to chill on this money stuff, because I have ran through some freaking money over the past couple days. but we're trying to get at it. Y'all want to see this car done? I want to see this car done, so I've kind of said screw it. The puke tank, somebody else brought up in one of my videos that they really think that it should go out through the deck lid, so I'm very torn about that. I was going to pull the puke tank this afternoon and get it out the car, but then I was like, well, let's just wait. Maybe let me think on this, let it brew a little bit more, and maybe we will go out the trunk lid. So the only bad thing is, like, a lot of people do their puke tanks out the trunk lid. They're centered, but mine's not centered. Now I have the piece of pipe that has a curve in it, so I've got some piping to work with, and so I can get a curve, you know, to come out a little bit to get it to clear where it will go out to the actual deck lid, but it's not gonna be in the center. It would look like garbage to route it all the way from over there to the center. And there's really no point in it being in the center. No, I mean, it doesn't have to be in the center. So I don't know. I'm just still torn about that. I'd like to go through the floor because it'd be simpler, and I'm afraid that, you know, going through the deck lid, I'm afraid it's just too much hardcore racy look. You know, you need it for function, for safety, you know, to be considerate of other racers, that you don't lay crap down on the track if something happens. But the steaming out the deck lid is just, normally you see really high horsepower cars that do that, and I just have never been that tight where I don't want to come out there and you look like you have a pro mod, but it makes 1,000 horse, and you're like, what? So it's not me. So that's when I was gonna go through the floor, so it's just a little bit more discreet. I don't know. On the fence, the fire bottle, I'm leaning towards right here, but now that the back of the car is coming out, or the back of the car is taken out to fix the brake lines, and the stuff that I ordered today that we will be going over in a new video, we might actually, well, no, we will be, but we might actually be cutting more a part of the car than I originally thought I was going to. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, maybe we should go ahead and chop a little bit more out. So we'll see where that goes. But I hope to just sail right through it. Anyway, we'll go over that stuff in another video. Let's not get off course here. Let me get at it. Let me dive in. Let me do some of this basic stuff. I think I may try ahead and go do these Zeus tabs tonight. And now that I'm thinking about moving all these pieces, maybe I'll go ahead and build this side panel for beside the seat. So let me knock some stuff out, and I'll get back. Mystery solved on this. I was trying to remember what I tapped as. I brought it back home because Mike did not have the 1/8 MPT tap at the shop. And in the other videos, you know, I couldn't remember what I tapped it because I needed to put something in it. I went to the hardware store. We found a bolt that fit this thing amazingly, but I was like, that just don't seem right. I just don't seem like it, you know, should be a bolt. So in my mind, what I was thinking was, well, I have this Harbor Freight tap kit, and all of these taps create fitting threads. So I just need to know what fitting thread I tapped. So just pipe thread. So then I get here tonight and I pulled the tap kit back out, find the size that fits it, and I go look at the little chart. Well, it says it on there, but I look at the little chart and I'm like, what do all these NCs stand for? Like, what kind of fitting is that? So I Google it real fast because I'm new to a lot of this stuff. Google it real fast, and no, that means coarse thread. That's not fitting. So all of these taps are literally bolt sizes, bolt thread and stuff, and that's the only fitting thread, which is your 1/8 MPT, which is what I have a lot of fittings of. So, brain fart moment for me, that I was thinking that all of these taps create fitting threads, you know. And when you type in, you feel stupid. When you type that in on Google, it just pulls up bolts. Like, it pulls up a bunch of bolts, and you're like, what is going on? So anyway, I found a bolt that fits it. I cut it down so that it's shorter, and we're just gonna turn that in there and use some thread tape, and that will fit. It goes down in there and fits nice and snug, nice and tight, really tight. You can snug it down with a ratchet, a socket, and get it tight. So I went ahead and taped it up because I was gonna step outside and spray paint it, but I was like, no, you know what? We're gonna powder coat the limiters, and we're gonna powder coat couple other little things. I was like, so let's just go ahead and powder coat this black also while we're at it. So we're gonna throw this in the box of the shop stuff, because see, every day I have items that go back to the shop and stuff, and we do have the blow-off valve flange down in there. So I took off the piping and marked it and put it in a pile to go back to the shop for Mike to final weld that. Firewall block, final weld the hot side, and for him to tack weld a blow-off valve on there so we can come home and check it. And I cannot forget that there's a rag in my blower. I'm gonna guess it would just blow it into the intercooler, but I need to actually pull that out so I can see it, so I can take that thing out whenever I go to put that pipe back on, because you definitely don't want to leave a rag in there. I put it in there when I was working on it. So we're going to throw this in the box to go back to the shop, and also check my limiter pieces, and they're going to work. So I'm going to have Mike final weld that. Let's not lose that bolt, and let's keep going.